Lovely to see you.
Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. So today we have our lovely Max Black again from Pebeo. She is going to take us through the acrylic markers and the 4Artist markers, as well as just a little bit of the Vitrail enamel paint. So that's very exciting. Um, she's going to show us how to do like a nice holiday card illustration. Um, so everybody, please welcome Max.
Hey everyone, lovely to see you again. Lovely to see so many familiar faces, and also, of course, to see a couple new ones, which is really exciting. If you are new here, if you've been here before, forgive the introduction, but if you are new here, I'll just give the quick sort of introduction again, myself, Pebeo, and also the sort of Pebeo month. So basically, so my name is Max. I'm a professional artist and I'm the brand ambassador for Pebeo North America. My job is to help you sort of get to learn about our different materials and how to use them. If you've never used Pebeo or Pebeo before, Pebeo, we are a French company, been around for over 100 years, family owned, fourth generation still to this day. We make professional grade materials, have a huge extensive portfolio with a bunch of different things. You can check out pebeo.com to know everything that we do. But this month here, we're focusing on Delta and the different materials that Delta actually has of ours, which is actually quite an extensive list. So what we're doing during this month here is every single week we're going to cover a different Pebeo product. Now, these are being recorded, so you can actually see what we've done before. You love our fabric paint? Thank you, Kari. That's amazing. I adore our fabric paint. I will be completely honest. Actually, our fabric paint was the first thing that got me onto Pebeo, because it is unbeatable. And when I was completely blown away by what our fabric paint could do, that's how I actually started getting to know all the different lines we have. Good morning, Angelica. Nice to see you again. If you get any vibe already, please feel free, throw yourself in the chat. You can even unmute yourself and throw yourself and just speak as well. I am very, very casual in the way that I like to teach. It's sort of more of a hangout and we go through everything together. So yeah, so basically that's a little bit what we're sort of doing. So every single month we'll cover a different material. Our first month we did our Origin Acrylics, an eco product. First week. Last week we did Colorex, our watercolor inks. And then this week here, we're going to be coming, like I said, the acrylic paint markers and also the 4Artist oil paint markers. But a little bit of bonus on the whole thing is we're actually also becoming Vitrail because a couple times throughout the past sessions we talked about our glass paint Vitrail and sort of different things we do for mixed media. So I think we'll bring that up as well. So I've got a little bit of a project on that because it's the holidays and it's perfect for that. It's enamel paint. We'll have some fun. Last but not least, we have next week is our last week of this round. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be Matte Pub, which is actually another acrylic line, and we'll talk about that. It is also super, super power as well.
Oh, but
Yep.
also I forgot to mention our giveaways.
Yes. Yes.
So we've been doing a prize giveaway every week. So this week it's going to be for 4Artist markers and the acrylic markers. So to be entered for the draw, put your email and your name into the chat, and the winner will be announced tomorrow.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely. There's also going to be a grand prize as well. So make sure that your email is in the chat. Now, one of the things with all of these courses, we always make sure there's also going to be a downloadable little step-by-step little PDF that you get with you. They'll email it to you probably tomorrow. And so you could basically get that as well. So every single week, you kind of get like a little PDF download that also has a little step-by-step so you can bring it with you. I'm just gonna go in the chat. Love the painting on your easel. This one here. So this one's actually charcoal. This is our Pebeo charcoal on fabric. It is actually a charcoal drawing. This one here is a painting made with Origin acrylics. But that one's actually a charcoal drawing. I love charcoal. I'm obsessed. I could charcoal all day long. Looking for the presentation. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you so much. Okay, so basically, so yes, absolutely. So we have the giveaways. So make sure again, we'll remind everyone at the end again, make sure for the giveaways, You do need to put your email address inside the chat. You gotta do it privately or publicly, whatever. We're all friends. Put it in the chat. However, for the PDF, just for registering to this workshop, you will get the downloadable PDF. So same thing for I always say for next week. Feel free to just register for the course, even if you can't make it. Just register anyways. You'll still get the downloadable PDF and it'll have all the steps as well because it's kind of fun as well. Part of this is making sure that you guys have activities and you know how to use the materials. Okay, so talking a little bit about today's materiality. Again, going to cover in the end, we were supposed to cover two materials, but we're actually going to cover three materials. You get like a bonus material course. Like that's fun. So our acrylic paints, our acrylic markers, our Pebeo acrylic markers. So this artwork here was made 100% with our Pebeo acrylic markers. Okay, these are paint markers. These are professional grade paint markers. What that means if you're playing with them or behind a screen, but if we're live, you'd pick one up and you'd hear there's actually a lot of paint in it. Like they actually have a really heavy paint. We'll actually be able to, I'll show you guys how to change your nibs. They come in a bunch of different sizes. But yeah, so this one here was made 100% just with our paint markers. Now, our oil paint markers, this artwork here was made with our oil paint markers. Okay, so our oil paint markers, now one thing that you'll immediately recognize just from the heavy studio lighting I have, the acrylic paint markers are matte, and that's why it's not reflecting the light. The oil paint markers are high gloss. And so you're getting that big reflection, right? They are so high gloss that they will look wet, but they will be dry. They dry almost instantly. Which is the first question I get. People, if you've done oil paint before, usually the first question I get is, oh, if they're oil paint markers, will they stay, how long do they stay wet for? Not long, super fast. It's incredible. As an oil painter, that was mind-boggling the first time that I used them because it made absolutely no sense. They dry super, super fast. In fact, you will think that they're completely wet because they're going to be super shiny, but they're not. They're totally dry. The last material that we're going to be using today, which is sort of our third one, is actually what's called Vitrail. So Vitrail is often known as a sort of stained glass effect paint. So a lot of people use it for stained glass, that kind of thing. So this is kind of like a traditional usage of it. Again, the glare of lights. There we go. So this is kind of a traditional usage of it. Again, if there's no light behind it and you put it against a window, it'll be super, super bright, but I'm forward lit, not backward lit, so that you can see my face. But if this was against the window, you would see it's very, very bright. So I put it behind a paper to give you a bit of an idea. Okay, so this is sort of a traditional usage of vitriol. But what I really want to cover today, after the paint markers, is that vitriol is actually more versatile than that. So vitriol is actually an enamel paint, a professional grade enamel paint. So to explain what that is, because again, we've talked about vitriol, so I know you guys are interested. What that really means is that think like nail polish. Nail polish is an enamel paint, right? That's what that is. You're putting on your nails, except that it's like one that's for your body. It's well, for your nails. This here is for artists. So this is a piece, this is a wooden decoration that I painted just using our enamel paint, using our vitriol. And it is gorgeous. Okay. And this is the part, this is a little bit of like my campaign that I'm really fighting for vitriol on this one because though I love vitriol as a like a glass paint for, stained glass and all that, when we start using it as what it really is, an enamel paint, like this is just on wood. I'll show you the original. I just got these like dollar store, like um, so you see, this is the original wood piece, and I'm going to show you guys a step by step of how I did this. And the downloadable will actually be on how to do this, okay? Because it is such an interesting product and it's not necessarily getting used as much, right? I know, I love it. I'm getting a lot of wows. It looks amazing. Wow, it's amazing. Okay, so those are the three materials that we're going to be covering today. Um, let's get cracking. Like I said, the first project is actually going to be more on the just like greeting cards and that kind of thing. I use greeting cards as the exercise for the paint markers just because it's a really easy, accessible project and a great way for me to show you the different ways that you can really use them. At the end of the day, I'll show you, I have a sketchbook and that's usually what I've put my drawings in. But you can absolutely do greeting cards, which we'll cover today. And then after that, we're going to go into ornament decorating. Okay. But again, same thing. Right now it's holiday themed because it's the holidays. And if you're watching this in July because this is going on YouTube, I just realized this will be very, very random because it'll be like, but it's okay. Christmas in July is a thing actually, so that kind of works. But absolutely, that's one of the things is that just because we're doing it for holiday right now doesn't mean you can't use it all year long. Same thing, like I'm gonna show you guys my sketchbook for the paint markers. I have one that I just kind of like make my own homemade coloring book, and I'll kind of show you guys how I do that. And then for the Vitrail, that one there, you can actually just take like a wooden cradle board canvas. You know, those wooden, it looks like a regular canvas, but it's wood. And you can take that and you can actually paint directly on that with the Vitrail, just the same way that with the exact same techniques I'm going to show you guys with the little acorn. Okay, so a lot of stuff today, we're gonna roll through it. You're gonna fly through it. You know, it's gonna be complete opposite next week. Next week we have one subject, so it'll be a lot more calm. Today it's gonna be just like we're gonna be like throwing in the information. So I'm gonna switch cameras and we're gonna just like get rolling. We're very ambitious today on how everything we're getting done. Okay, so I've gotten this one started already, and I'll show you guys my setup. I'm just gonna turn my things around here so I can see you guys as well. Okay. So this is a card that I've already kind of gotten started, just so I can, again, as you know, we're going to fly through a whole bunch of different things today. So just to get started with the markers. So this is what I was talking about that actually throughout the year, this is really what I use. I don't actually do as many cards. I actually have a sketchbook. Now, what I actually originally always had was a sketchbook that I put a whole bunch of sketches in, pencil, charcoal, acrylic paint even, these kind of paint markers, watercolors. I put everything together. Now, one thing that I've learned because now I do so many demos for different materials, now I actually I'm dedicating currently sketchbooks to just that. So, for example, here with this sketchbook here, this is what I was talking about. I kind of create my own coloring pages. Let me find, here you go. So this was, for example, okay, so this was done again with our acrylic paint markers. This was obviously summertime. You can tell. Um, so what I do when I'm kind of creating this here is I first do this one here. It's unfinished. I do a first base coat and these same steps we're going to do for the coloring card, for the greeting card. First things first, I would actually, where's one that I have sketches in? Oh, here you go. First things first, I actually sketch it out. This is like my homemade, and you can actually take this exercise. Do this. Grab yourself a sketchbook. This is so good for you. First things first, what I do is I don't actually start sketching. I actually will write down on the page the theme that, oh, here you go. Like the theme that I want. Like I've got a little note here. You can't read it. It's been my little chicken scratch for myself, but it says ramen. I want to do some like ramen packets. Okay. So I know ahead of time, this is a subject that I'm going to want to cover, right? Yes, absolutely. Zoe, I'm telling you, this is how it rolls. It works. I promise you. This is a one of the I love my job. One of the benefits of it is I'm constantly doing arts. One of the downsides of it, I am constantly doing arts and I have a zillion deadlines. So I have to stay hyper organized and always like systematically figure out how do I get everything done. And so there's a lot of shortcuts I find and different tricks I use and I love to share them. And this is one of them. So first things first, you know those days that you're not the right off the bat, if I were to just stare in front of a blank page, there's no way I'm going to get any sketching. It's just not going to happen. I wish, but it won't. So instead, what I actually do is I put little themes. So I know in these two pages, it's going to be ramen. I know here, what's this one? Oh, eggplant, tomatoes, and carrots. I love garden fruits. It's a thing I love to do food. So, so I've got the theme right here. Okay. Then when there's a day that I'm feeling like, oh, I'd love to get some sketching done. Then this one was obviously pumpkins. So then on the day that I feel like doing the drawing, it's a drawing day. So my brain is focused. Unless, like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I hope you have a full day to just do art nonstop. But if you're like me, it's going to be in between the moments of life, right? That we have a little bit of moment to do some art. So then I have the time that I'll do all my sketching. Once my sketching is done, then this becomes my own homemade coloring book. From that point forward, when I'm ready to do some coloring, I go right in and do my coloring. So that's a huge trick. This totally works. To try to come up with an idea, do your sketching, and do your coloring work in one sitting is very challenging. So if that's not something that's been working for you, I am here to let you know that is totally normal. I struggle with that myself, even though I'm doing art all the time and I literally represent an art company. Nevertheless, this really, really works. And this system, I live and die by it because it's the only way that I can get my things done. Never thought it works. Yes, no, absolutely. And again, I'm super happy to be able to share these ideas because, yeah, I live for them. Okay, so once I'm actually, once I get to the point that it's a day, it's a color day. It's a color day. And so the first things first is I'll actually do a base coat. And these are just, I'm basically just blocking in my colors, sort of like you would do as a classical painter. You block in your stuff. Well, that's exactly what I do with my markers. I block it in first. And then once that's dry, which honestly takes like 5 minutes to dry maximum, sometimes like 2 minutes. It's not long at all. Once it's dry, I will probably do a second coat. That will make sure that's completely opaque. And my base layer is completely, completely opaque and done. From there, that's when I build up my layers. Okay. One thing that I do because this is a sketchbook, I actually mark down the colors that I used because when I'm busy, actually, and I could actually put the numbers too. I just never did in this page. I just didn't put the numbers. But you could actually take a pen and write down the numbers as well. But while I'm painting, because that's what you're doing. I know you're working with paint markers, but you are painting when you're doing this, even though it feels you're really just with a marker. When you're painting, you are not thinking colors. You're intuitive. You are feeling. That's how we paint. We paint through feeling. So then suddenly to use the rational brain 2 days later and be like, what were the colors I used? If you're like me, there's zero chance you're going to remember that. Like it's just not going to happen. So instead, that's why I kind of mark this down. It reminds me that, oh yeah, that's how I got there. And then I'll remember and I can sort of recreate it. Now, for the markers, we'll get into that a little bit before we kind of get into painting. So for the markers, and again, we're going to start with the acrylic markers. The acrylic markers, this is what they look like. They come in a couple different sizes. Let's get a little variety here. Okay, so they come in a bunch of different, they come in a ton of different colors, but they come in a bunch of different sizes as well. So we'll cover that. That's for sure not happening. I would never remember. So it's like never happens. I try and I use these markers all the time. Like I know the line and nevertheless I struggle. So I don't expect anyone else to manage it, that's for sure. Okay, so the numbers of the sizes are right there. Your sort of smallest size, let's see one that's definitely open. Your smallest size is a zero point 0.7. That is a super thin line. It is really, really fine. Comes in a bunch of different colors again. Then next size up is your 1.2. 1.2, that's kind of your standard size. Can you blend colors together? Just because absolutely. Oh, and we're blending colors today. Yes, absolutely. And that, yes, good question. You can absolutely blend your colors together. It's how I love to use them most, actually. And that's how you used to go from like just using them for coloring and instead using them painterly in a painterly kind of way. Okay, so this is the 4 millimeter. It comes both in a chisel and as well in the round. So you're seeing again, getting a little thicker. And then the last size, which one should I use, is what's called the 515s. Now these ones are really, really, these ones are really chunky. So this was a 515. The reason why it's called a 515 is because you have the 5 millimeter, which is the tiny end, and then you have the 15 millimeter, which is the long, wide end. Now, I don't know, I haven't used this one. So that looks like that and like that. So these get really, it looks like it was popping over. These are really addictive, guys. Just wait, we're getting started. I love these. Wait till you get to we're getting to the oil ones next. Okay, so those there are our acrylic markers. Again, ton of different colors. Now, the thing with them also, and I should cover this as well. First of all, you'll see there's a lot of ink in them. So yeah, you're going to be fine on that one. But if anything ever happens to the tip, your little nib, you have a little nib inside here. The markers actually, except for the 515s, otherwise, all the other markers, the other sizes, they actually come with an extra tip. You have an extra tip here right in the cap. So if something happens, you already have an extra tip. And to replace it is really, really easy. I'm just going to use my fingers. It's really that easy. Actually, I think I have one that's not open, and then I won't have ink all over my fingers. Yes, this one's brand new. Okay. Imagine this one has a bunch of ink. Okay. All you do, guys, is this easy. You just pull it out. It's really, really that easy. Okay. You pull it out, you pop out the other nib, and you put the new one in. Done. Super easy. Okay. Super, super, super easy. Now, how you activate a brand new, how to pop that out? Yeah, I know. I'm going to show you one more time because it makes no sense. It's so easy. It's like, yeah, I know. It's really easy. Literally, there's nothing at all. It actually comes right out. And it actually comes right out quite loosely. So it won't fall out ever. It don't be worried about your nib's going to fall out. It won't fall out. But you actually just pull it right out, and your extra nib is on the cap. So say for example, this nib is dead. Something horrible's happened to it. My dog has eaten it. It's gone. It's toast. I have to get rid of it because it's completely mussed up. My bonus nib is right on the cap. I pull it right off and I put it back in. Can you refill the paint? Not officially. If you want to be Machiavellian, you can take them apart and create chaos. I did have children do this. It did actually work, but it's not what they're designed for. It's not like the ColorX markers where you can refill them super, super easily. These ones here are not necessarily designed for that. I put these in children's events. They are professional grade, but I actually do a lot of kids' events. And they have done incredibly wild things to these markers, and it is unbelievable what they have survived. So I do actually say we have a lot of adults and parents that actually take pictures of the markers afterwards, or even during the event, because they can't believe what the markers have survived, and they want to buy them for themselves. Because if it can survive, a children's event with 800 kids running around, it can absolutely survive your art practice. Okay, so that's where we're going with the acrylic markers. Before we get into the art making here, wait, make sure because I have to save some colors. Okay, now next is our oil paint markers. The oil paint markers, same thing, come in multiple different sizes, but there's a little party piece that's my favorite part with the oil paint markers. And so I'll pull them out. Did I bring a silver? Yes, I did. Okay. Same thing, come in a whole bunch of different sizes. They come in the 2 mm. You see the little small little guy? They come in the 4 mm sticker. And then finally, they come in the larger format where there is the 15. Again, it's really more of a 515 like the last one. And there's also an 8 mm, which is kind of like a chisel. This one's brand new. That's not brand new. There you go. That's your 8 mm. And then finally, nope, that one's brand new. Okay. Max pulling out all the brand new ones. Nope. Okay, we're gonna activate a marker. And then the 515, we're gonna activate this one. Because, okay, so the oil paint markers are fantastic, don't get me wrong. But my absolute favorite part about them is actually the metallics. Wait till you get these metallics. So first things first, you gotta give, if you're reactivating a brand new marker, because you've just purchased your brand new marker, or you're like me and you have a brand new demo marker, you're gonna shake it. And then all you do is you just put it, you can't really see it. You're gonna put it flat against your page, and then you're gonna pump. So you just kind of pump up and down. Now you don't have to pump really fast. It's not about that. It's not really about speed. It's not speed, it's quality. So we're just gonna pump. And this give you kind of like an accurate feeling of how long this takes. Now these are the large ones. If it's a small marker you have, like a smaller size, like the 2 mm, something like that, it will activate way faster. So keep your eye on it. You will actually see the ink starting to come out right here. You can actually see it's coming out on the page because here it's come out. There it's still soaking. Okay. This is kind of the party piece of the metallics. So it's a real metallic. So as opposed to a glitter marker, this is a real metallic. That is the party piece of the 4Artist markers. This is very rare in a paint marker format. It's very special. So both the silver, the bronze, and the gold are real metallics. Like a machine gun. Yeah, you go with LOL with markers. I usually go like machine gun. Yeah, you could, but oh my gosh, it's gonna suddenly like with paint for sure. There is so much ink in these, it's incredible. Gorgeous. Definitely getting those metallics. Yeah, the metallics are really they are the party piece of the line. We're gonna activate this one as well. Oh, give it a shake. Brand new. Now, again, the same thing, and I'm going to get into painting soon. So, and you're going to see this in painting. If you want a lot of ink, just give it just pump it. Okay, that will make it come out. And now, especially if you want, you can actually do a slow pump, and that will actually make more ink come out or paint come out. If you want it to be a little bit more dry, which you will see, that's how I use them. I use a mix of like a little bit of dry brush and I use excess. So I'll show you that shortly. Then you just don't pump it as much. There's something that you have the control of the flow in this situation, is what I'm saying. Woo! Except if you're teaching and talking at the screen and then you don't pay attention. So that's all that happens if you don't pay attention and you're looking at the screen and reading the comments. You just have an excess of things that comes out. It's not a big deal. But there you go. So there is your copper. So as you can see, a lot of ink is in these metallics. Oh my goodness. I am determined to show you guys the silver because we will actually need it anyways. So here, again, being a smaller one, I'm not worried about the moving really fast. There you go. The big ones, I go a little bit slower for a reason because there's just so much ink in them or paint. And there you go. That's your silver. So you really are like, woo. Yeah, on the occasion that you're thinking like, no, she's exaggerating. No, there really is a lot of paint in these. Okay, so that's your basics of these markers. Now, how it works with the acrylic markers, once it's dry, it stays dry. That is where it's at, okay? Now, when it comes to your oil-based markers, those ones there, you can actually reactivate them like with itself. So if this is dry on the page, I can go and do another layer and it will reactivate what's at the bottom and actually come up. And that's how I did that tiger. That tiger that I showed you guys, a lot of the colors don't even exist in the line. I did it by blending them together. So I would do a coat, I'd let it dry, and then I'd go right back in, just like an oil painting, and start mixing and blending those colors together. If I don't want it to mix, I just don't rub it in, and it works perfectly fine. Being a metallic, does a nib ever gum up? I have personally not had one gum up. They have worked perfectly fine. I have, and again, I have these ones perchance are brand new, which blows my mind. You can tell by the surprise when I opened every single one and couldn't tell. Um, Mine in my studio, ooh, this one. Mine in my studio. Oh, here you go. Here's a good example. This one here, I primed this one 6 months ago, and I haven't touched it since, and it still works perfectly fine. No issue. So they don't dry, they don't gum up, nothing. Totally fine. You know, like literally 6 months ago. You're supposed to kind of reactivate these every now and then to keep them flowing. And nevertheless, I don't. There it goes, straight up. I just don't. And nevertheless, they work perfectly fine. So no, I have not had any issues at all. And in fact, actually, when you're blending them, if your tip gets really sort of gross and covered in like different colors because they've been blending onto the tip, all I do is I take a little paper towel, I'll actually wipe my tip completely. And then if I'm still have some color, I'll actually just go to again a little piece of paper and I just pump the excess off until it's clean again. There is so much ink in these that the paint will actually flow out and push the other color out. That's actually how I did it. And that's how I did it for the tiger, especially because I have to show you the guys the tiger one more time. The tiger especially. When it came to the tiger, when you can look at that belly to get that white belly, I was using the exact same white marker that I used to be blending all these yellows. That white marker went through an experience. It was not white for a very long time. It was oranges and yellows and everything that you don't want for a white marker. And then I had to get to these beautiful highlights. To give you an idea, under this, you can't tell, but under this was pure orange. Like I really went in on my layers. And right at the top, then I added the white and it worked perfectly fine. So this is just layers and layers of blending. So absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Using markers on windows. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So let's get a little bit of painting in. So this is how I was talking about sort of like my sort of process. This is sort of how I would do it. I'm gonna grab a little piece of paper. I like to have a little piece of paper on the side, and that's what I just use for pumping because like I said, when I'm sort of doing my drawings, okay, go. When I'm doing my drawings, or rather my paintings, because that's really how we're going to be using this. We're going to be using this in a more of a painterly sense. When I'm doing my acrylic marker paintings, I like to have a mix of flows. Sometimes I want only a bit of ink coming through. Sometimes I want a lot of paint coming through, and that's how I sort of build up my layers. So I like to have an extra sort of draft piece of paper next to me. And so this is so I've just made this quick design here. I made it so that the card design goes all the way around. This is just a quick little holly design. Now what I've done to show you guys first is I've got, this is a finished sort of product. This is where we're going to go. I've started a little bit just so that they're ready to go. So we're going to go, my first step first for myself usually is I'm actually, like I said, I'm going to block in my colors. Now, I like to go from dark to light. If you're the opposite and you want to go from light to dark, whatever, go for it. Whatever you prefer. There's no right or wrong. Just do your thing. It's just per chance I like to go dark to light. So you can do whatever you like, but I'm going to start dark. So that means the first things first is I want to choose what are my two darkest colors. In my case, it's going to be dark green, the number 421. And for my red, I'm going to use vermilion 406. There is a darker red. I just want to keep this bright in Christmas. So first things first, like I said, I'm going to put one coat down. And this is the part that's kind of very satisfying. This just feels like coloring, honestly. We're just blocking in our colors. And you can see it's coming down. And even though this is coming in and filling in completely opaque, nevertheless, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let it dry completely, which will not take long. A minute, 2 minutes maximum. I'll let it dry completely, and then I'll lay down a second coat on top of that. I like my base to be really, really opaque, and then we build off of that. So we'll just do another one just to give the other one some time to dry. And we're gonna go fly through this. Now, the nice part about the paint markers, like last week, we covered Color X, and Color X, gorgeous, but very transparent. So if your line work is very thick or dark, it is going to come through just because it is such a transparent medium. And you see here, I want this to be really juicy, so I just pump some more and we're ready to go. In this case, the acrylic markers are so opaque, they are literally acrylic paint. And so I don't have to worry about my pencil line work coming through. I can just go ahead, even if it's light colors like a yellow, it will still cover it. It's fine, especially if I'm doing what I do, which is two coats. Okay, so I'm doing my second coat now. So you see how fast that dried? In the time that I took to do this one here, this first one was already dry. So this is very, very, very fast, how fast these dry. And again, the oil paint markers, similarly, they dry the same way. Very, very fast. Okay. So once I've got sort of base colors blocked in, I would do the red. You get what I'm saying. Fill it in. Oh, got a question. What is the paper you're working on again? This is actually, oh, this here is actually a watercolor paper because they're watercolor cards for a holiday. I went all authentic with you guys. But this here, just so that you know, you like last week when we did the Color X, you do kind of want to work on some sort of watercolor paper, unless if you use the markers, you can work on anything. But for example, this paper here that I did the blueberries on is extremely thin paper. So it will work on extremely thin paper as well. You don't have to worry. It doesn't have to be fancy watercolor paper. I'm just doing it because it's for the cards. Okay, so once that first base coat is dry, this is how we start using it in the painterly sense. Now I start layering. So for my layering for my leaf, I'm going to use a little bit of the green, which is number 423. And then I'm going to finalize it once dry with bright green 424. So basically, where'd it go? Dark green, middle tone, highlight. Straight. Easy. That's how I do it. That tends to be how I do it. You can get crazy and add extra colors, but I'm just saying it. That's pretty foolproof way. So I start with my base. I'm now going to take my middle tone, because that's really what it is. I'm going to take my middle tone and I'm going to start building some structure on that leaf. Now here, for example, this leaf here, I did it earlier before this workshop. So it's pretty dry. So it's really, really shining. But we had the question of can you blend them? Yeah, absolutely. This leaf here I just did. And so you can actually see how it's going on a little bit different. It's a little bit brighter. It's a bit brighter on the leaf that's totally dry, but it's a little bit darker on the leaf where it's blending. So it's just like a different way of doing it. I want to do Christmas cards with Duralar film. Ooh, these products be okay on film? Yes, you know what's going to be your best friend on that one is the oil paint markers. The oil paint markers stick to everything. In fact, actually, while we let that coat dry, I actually brought a metal pot so I can show you this because this feels so weird. If we were in a live demo, guys, you'd each of you get a little metal pot and then I hand the metal I hand the 4Artist markers around and then everyone kind of like stares at me in a daunting way and then they start to draw and they realize it totally works. So actually to show you because it absolutely works. You can actually just go directly onto steel, plastic, anything, and it will absolutely work. No problem. Super easy, brilliant. Keep it away from teenagers, or else everything will be painted. The hoodlums will get away with it. All right, so basically you see it's super, super easy. It can go on anything. That is a wonderful part about the 4Artist markers in particular. They will work, they're oil paint markers. They'll stick to anything. I've used them on the Duralar, on acetates, on plastic, um, you name it, they will stick, which is brilliant. Is it washable after dry? I would be careful within the sense of like, is it permanent? Yes. Would I like run it through the dishwasher? No. We actually do have a paint that's specifically for that. We actually do make a paint that is for dishware. And yes, you can do all of that. But these here, that is not their claim to fame. So can it be like washed in the sense of like, yeah, like if some water on it, whatever, yeah, absolutely. Nothing will happen. Totally fine. But I would not run it through your dishwasher or put it on like a dish or something like that. Okay, so during this time while I've been speaking, this has been drying, which is wonderful. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another little layer of it, just again to sort of build up a little bit more texture and just focusing that texture to a little bit the center just to create that three-dimensionality. And by the way, if we're talking about painting on Duralar and stuff, ooh, you're going to love a trail. Ooh, you're going to love a trail. Okay, so I'm gonna just finish this leaf because this is looking a little bit ridiculous that one is done, the other one is not. Plus it'll give you a baseline because I'll develop the other ones. Okay, so there we go. So we have these ones that have a little bit of base coat going on. And now what we're gonna do with that little highlight, we're just gonna drop in just a little touch. And you see how just that little touch really makes it pop in the sort of land of three-dimensionality. Are they flexible in that if bent, will they crack? Great question. They are flexible. Yeah, they are absolutely flexible. So no, they will not crack. But boy, you guys are going to love Vitrail if you guys are talking about that because Vitrail absolutely, you can use it on acetate. I've made bookmarks with it. I've folded it in half and it didn't crack. Vitrail is yeah, you're gonna, it's a feeling like it's making more sense that I paired these three together, even though they're completely different lines. Nevertheless, it seems like your projects are in line with the three products for sure. Okay, so you see I'm just adding those little details and immediately, guys, with three markers, you get that full three-dimensionality. Now imagine if that's all across, right? It's absolutely gorgeous. Three markers, that's all it took. So when you're looking at them in the more painterly sense like this, where you're blending your colors together, I'm using wet on wet. I'm not letting it be completely dry. I'm sort of throwing myself into it, you know? Same thing for the berry. So this berry here, I already did my two coats, my base coat. That's me. I always like to do my base coat. I've already done my base coat. So now what I'm going to do, I want it to be, in this situation, I don't want to go directly on sort of with my next color. I want them to blend a little bit. I'm not going to pump my marker because then I'll have too much ink. This is a situation where I just want to just wet that a little bit. So I'm actually going with my semi-dry marker. It's not completely dry. The marker is never completely dry, but I'm not going to pump it so that there's a whole bunch of paint coming up. I just want to just slightly activate a little bit. Now I'm going to go forward with this little coral color called red ochre. And I'm just going a little bit loosely around. I'm not filling it entirely. I'm just adding a couple little quick details while it's still wet. Now at this point, this is super paint thrilly. This is very much painting. This is very wet. Now I'm going to add a little bit of the pink. And when you're using it in the painterly sense like this, you're not going to see the clear line work. It's all going to blend together. We're making completely new colors right now. What color for the highlights? I used a blue. This is an unusual sort of thing, but absolutely using a blue, especially pale blue in your highlights, it just is so gorgeous. And it's a little bit more, it just imparts more than just putting in white. You can totally use white, nothing wrong with white. But I love this is a light blue. And what I do is I'm going to let this little berry dry because now I've added a whole bunch of color to it and I don't want my highlight to blend in. I wanted all these layers to blend in so that it has a bit more personality than just the red. I'm going to fill in this red so you have an example of what just the red looks like. And now the camera is not completely picking it up. But in this case here, this has actually become a lot softer as opposed to this one here that's super bright. I am aware in the camera it doesn't show as much, but you'll have to take my word for it. What was the second red color? Good question. Okay, so the first red color was vermilion 406, which is that base red I'm using. And then on top of that, that kind of coral, it was actually a red ochre, number 431. And then the last sort of little bit that I added was actually a little bit of pink 409, a little bit of pink sort of like to give it a little bit of a boost. While it's drying, then we'll add a little bit of blue. Do the nibs gum up if the markers are not stored nib down? If they are stored nib down, do they get too wet? This is a really good question. Thank you for asking this question, Karen. That is yes. Zoe's following it up with, what's the best way to store them? Guys, you're on point. Great question. For all paint markers, your paint markers should actually always be stored at a horizontal, actually. The reason for that, and this is a great question, thank you so much, is that what happens is that you have the canister is filled with ink, and then there's kind of like this filament sort of running through. If it's like this, then it's kind of like all bottling up there, and yes, it could leak or it could actually just get like lost there. If you actually put it over here and you have it nib up, that's almost even worse because now what's ends up happening is all the ink's going to be down here. And then you're not necessarily getting up at the top. If you want your marker to stay in its full health, you leave them on their side, basically in a horizontal laying down position. Imagine they're sleeping. You're not using them, they're sleeping. So just keep that in mind. Put your markers to sleep, and then you're good to go. And that is the best way to, honestly, because of the coloring industry and how booming it is on Amazon, you can get those really cute shelves, and then you kind of like put them all on the shelf. That's what I've done with mine. It's great. It's really fun. Um, okay, so while that's kind of touch dry. I'm okay with touch dry. Okay, because this is a highlight, and I really want this to be to really pop and be clean, what I'm gonna do in this case is I am gonna pump it. There, I want it to be super juicy. And then I can add my little highlight. I can add a little bit more. So now I can add it and it's super clean, super easy, stays on top because there's so much here. And that's what I was saying. Sometimes you want a little bit of drier brush. Sometimes you want it to be really, really liquidy. You have the control just by pumping it. Okay. We are still doing good for time. So last but not least, let's I could keep going with that, but I want to show you guys a different technique. Again, at the end of the day, these are your cards and you can do like a zillion different things. So this is a quick little New Year card that I did. I got it started. I got my base coat already done. So this is actually one layer of each color. If we had all the time in the world, I would add a second coat to my blue and my pale orange, light orange, excuse me. But we don't have time and it doesn't really matter because I want to get into vitriol. So instead, I'm going to finish up my little blocking it in, and I'm using the big, thick sort of 4 millimeter. Again, it comes in the round and the chisel tip. I like the round. I guess it depends on the project, honestly. But for just blocking things in, just a big, thick round, it works. So what I'm going to do, now we're going to add some little details. And just again, just to show. So the base that I did was in a black for the numbers. The base for around here is cyan, number 417. And then for this light orange, it's literally called light orange, is number 404. And that's the base I've started with. And now to make it kind of pop, and again, this is so easy. I'm gonna take again that same light blue, number 415, and you can just go ahead and just kind of, and you're noticing I'm going like I'm crashing right into those numbers that I just did. It doesn't matter because that is a lovely part of this is that once it's dry, remember, it's dry. It's not going anywhere. So it's not going to blend if I go back into it. These are the acrylic paints, so it doesn't really matter. That allows me to not be concerned at all. And I can sort of go right in and add my details in. And again, guys, I'm doing really, really simple designs right now. It's more to show you guys the different techniques and maybe throw in some ideas into the mix of things you might be able to do. All right. And then I'm going to take number fluorescent yellow, number 441. And same thing. We're just going to go in and just add some explosions. Now, just for the sake of science and education, I'm going to gum this one up. There's no reason for me to go through the black. Don't copy what I'm doing. But I'm going to gum this one up because it's a nice bright yellow. So surely I can pick up some grossness by running it through the black. Okay, the tip of my yellow is now tragic. Did you use a round tip for the Christmas card? No, I actually use a 1.2. 1.2 is kind of my go-to, honestly. Like the 90% chance if I'm using something is it's the 1.2. If I want to do detail work, actually, oddly enough, I will use a zero personally. I will use 0.7 when I'm using it for line work, especially if I'm mixing it with color X. So I go like urban sketching because again, once it's dry, it's dry. So I'll often actually use the 0.7 for urban sketching when I'm walking around because I know that when it's dry, it's totally dry. And then later on, like the next day, I can go back in with watercolor and it won't reactivate because it's completely waterproof. It's like it's real acrylic paint. Um, just like regular acrylic paint. So yeah. Okay, so we can see my poor yellow marker has been traumatized. This was fluorescent yellow. It is no longer that. So I just want to show you guys how easy it is to wash this off. I will often just this is just scrap piece of paper. I'll just start rubbing the excess off to start. Already, we're getting clearer. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pump to get some of the ink and we're already clean. So that's a fluorescent yellow on black. right? So that's how easy it is to clean. It is really not that big of a deal. So if you do gum up your nib, don't worry. You don't need to switch it or anything. You'll literally just be able to clean it up. The only time that I've had to really switch a nib was if I was working on this is gonna sound weird, but like cement or stone, like something that's like really like rubbing it really, really hard, right? Or lots of raw canvas. And then that really starts to fuzz up the nib. But otherwise, I personally don't end up changing the nibs very often. Um, they survive a lot. Okay, so let's come back to this. We still have a bit of time before I switch materials. Okay, so now I've gummed that up completely. So I'm just gonna go over my line work just to clean up my line work a little bit. I'm not going to care too much about the center. I'm going to make sure I don't stick my finger in it. Big chance of that happening. So again, I'm just cleaning up the edge work because I am going to fill this up. I'm going to fill this up with the gold. Now those explosions, I could have kept going into the yellow. I just would like to move forward. Oh, here's a good example. Okay, here's a situation where I've made an oops. My finger has went through it and landed on it, and I've added a little black dot there. No problem. I take my orange, add a first coat. I'm going to let that dry, and then I'll add a second coat, and it'll be gone. This is the fun part. If you make a mistake, it's like acrylic paint. Just paint over it. You can be fine. Don't worry about it. Okay, so we'll get that gold going. So I'm going to leave just an edge of that black there, just to help it pop a little bit. I'll do the 6, and you'll get to see what I'm talking about this kind of liquid gold. And it's also giving that corner a little spot to dry. And all this again, these are just to show you guys different techniques that you can use in your own sort of designs, and to also show you how easy these really are to use. And if something goes wrong, it's totally fine. You just paint right over it. It's just acrylic paint. It is in that sense a lot more forgiving than something like watercolor or ink, where once it's down, it's pretty much down. That's life. Surrender to it. In this case here, if something goes RE, you can probably just paint over it. So check out that 6. Do you see how that just looks like it's completely gilded? And that could have been gold leaf put down. So that was just a 4Artist oil marker. So you can actually mix them up, right? Don't think that, okay, well, I have to use this one and I have to use the other one. You can absolutely mix them up. Just keep in mind that the 4Artist markers being oil-based, if you put them directly onto paper, they might end up being a little bit more matte just because the paper is going to absorb a little bit of that shine. Now you can tell from my example here, it's not absorbing that much of the shine, but I'm just saying, if you really want to be persnickety, what I would actually do, and often what I do, is I did do like I just did here. I actually put my acrylic base down first and then put my gold on top. That functions a little bit like a little gesso. It just kind of blocks some of that absorbency, right? And that's another trick as well. So again, you're not losing that much the sort of shimmer. I mean, look at that. I mean, really. But on the occasion that it is really an issue and you really want that perfect sort of like gilded look, I would have a base of your acrylic paint marker first, and then I'd put this on top. Okay. So we still have a half an hour left. So I'm going to switch to Vitrail because I have a funny feeling that everyone is going to really, really, really enjoy it. But if during my Vitrail presentation you have other questions about acrylic paint markers or whatever, you just throw yourself into it. This is as mixed media as it gets. We're just throwing ourselves into everything today. Okay, I'm going to move these over, give myself some space, and we're going to talk about Vitrail. So Vitrail comes in these cute little bottles. I brought you guys a couple co colors today, but they come in a whole bunch of colors. They don't usually have this on them. When you get them, they look like this, and it's white here. This is my trick, and I think it works really well. Vitrail. Oh, Vitrail. Here, I put it in the chat. Vitrail is what it's called. Sort of like vitrail is what you say in French. But yes, it is an enamel paint. So an enamel paint, sort of like think of it this way, a professional grade nail polish. But don't put it on your body. That's not what it's for. But as opposed to nail polish, which is a type of enamel paint, technically, this one here is absolutely a professional grade technically glass paint is sort of what it was originally sort of brought in as like for like I say stained glass sort of effects. But the potential of it is so much more when you realize what it is, which is essentially a transparent enamel paint. So when I first get a brand new bottle, it ends up looking like this. And what I do, the first thing I do when I get a brand new bottle is I actually take I give it a shake, really emulsify everything around there. I give it a little shake. You don't have to shake it like crazy, but just a little bit just to get all the pigment around. And then I actually paint the top. That's me who's painted these a certain color. And then that way I have a better sense of what it looks like. This is my trick. So it'll look clear like this. Here, I'll just do it for the gold. I didn't even do it for the gold. I'll do it for the gold right now and you get to see. Because I never did it for the gold. Because again, it's enamel paint. It sticks to plastic. Great. So I'm going to take my brush. And imagine I've just bought this. I'm going to just take it from the cat. I just take some of my paint and I'll go right into the cap. And I actually paint it around the top of the cap. You can go inside and go around. This is for me. This is for no one else but for me. You can do a perfect circle like I did there, or I'm going to go in here again. This is going to help you out later on when you're trying to decide your colors or you're trying to get a sense of what does it look like when it's thick? What does it look like when it's thin? This is going to be really helpful. Can you do water dip art with Vitrail? I have not, Angelica, I have not tried it. It's actually on my list because you're right, you're supposed to use enamel paint for that. I don't want to say because I have not used it yet. But Angelica, you're spot on. It's actually on my list of things to do. Now, the funny thing is that we actually do, guys, we make a marbling paint. Honestly, at this point, you can just throw a paint out there. We probably make it. But we do actually make a marbling paint that is specifically for that. But that being said, I know what you're talking about the dip art, and I have absolutely, you are supposed to use enamel paint for that, and I have not tried it, but I can't think of a situation why it would not work. I just don't want to promise it. How do you clean a brush with Vitrail on them? Good question. Okay, so what you're gonna want for that, and I just realized I put it in the wrong spot. Hold on a second. For first things first, what I do is I take a paper towel and I just wipe off the excess. That's the first thing I do. I'm just gonna get my little pot because I forgot it. When you're rinsing your brushes afterwards, you do not rinse them with water. What you'll want is some sort of mineral spirits, which is what I have in here. I have mineral spirits here. If you've never used mineral spirits before, you can get them. They're odorless. We make them as well. And that's sort of what we use to rinse our brushes. It, I mean, technically you could use acetone, but that'd be a bit intense. What I use is to use a sort of mineral spirit. So it looks like water, it's not water. And then you just kind of use that to rinse off any excess. And then again, with that paper towel, you can see I've actually got my little bit of gold there that I had used to rinse off my brush. And you just rinse off the extra just by dabbing it with the paper towel. Now, when you're done with your painting session, if you've never used mineral spirits before, this is classic to enamel paint. If you've never used mineral spirits before, when it's done, you don't pour this down the drain. What you do is you keep it, let it sit for a couple days. I don't know, do something else. And you'll come back to it, and actually all of your pigment will have settled to the bottom. And it'll be like way at the bottom stuck. And all you do is just take another jar and you actually slowly pour. This will be all clear. Like literally it'll have separated like oil and water. Your solvent will be completely, or your mineral spirits will be completely clear, and your pigment will be at the bottom. All you're going to do is you're going to pour the clean solvent into another jar, And then you take a paper towel, you wipe out all the extra solvent, the little pigment sort of stuff that's at the bottom. And then you can take that, you can bring that to sort of any hazardous waste or whatever, and then you can just keep reusing the same solvent. I have been using the same solvent for years and years. Every now and then, it's almost like a sourdough starter. I just add like a little bit extra, and then that's it. Do you use that only for vitriol or all paints? I use it for the vitriol because it's an enamel paint and it is resistant to water heavily. And also you'll use it if you do oil paints or something like that. Do you worry about spontaneous combustion when throwing away your paper towel? No. Linseed oil is your scary one, and you don't actually use linseed oil for this. This is just this. This is just mineral spirits. It's linseed oil is the one that likes to spontaneously combust. That you use for oil paint. You don't need it for vitriol at all. In fact, actually, to be honest, like I say, you could just use acetone for heaven's sake. It's just it smells really strong, really, for the vitriol. If you're using oil, if you're painting with oil paint, then what you use is you use a mix of mineral spirits and linseed oil. Linseed oil is the one that, guys, if ever you're using linseed oil, and even in the woodworking shop, even, you want to take like, say this paper towel has linseed oil on it. First things first, I would not even throw it in the garbage just sort of like that. I would actually leave it out to hang. I unfold it completely and I would leave it to hang somewhere, like on a chair or something, to let it dry completely first. If you know anyone who's in woodworking, they will show that. I haven't had any problems with mineral spirits. If you are concerned though, follow the same steps I'm literally telling you for this. Um, what you basically do is let it dry completely. And then at that point, because you just don't want it to be the only thing is spontaneous combustion. It's extremely rare, but what happens is that it comes down when your paper's all scrunched up like this. And when your paper's all scrunched up, there's basically no air circulation. And so it kind of starts to heat up, and that's when it can catch fire. That's what happens. Okay. Um, Again, it's more of a linseed oil sort of issue. That's why you have it in like woodworking spaces and stuff like that. If they do a lot of linseed oil, you'll see their rags are hanging everywhere, and then you're good to go. The acorn. The acorn is a Vitrail project. And I'll show you guys this as well. This is a glass ball that I decorated. Here, we're going to use this. And that was, again, made with the Vitrail. So the Vitrail, again, it's an enamel paint. It means it's going to stick to glass. It will stick to your acetate. It will stick to your Duralar. It will stick to basically anything. It will stick to metal, no problem. Stick to plastic, absolutely no issue at all. It does super, super well. And this here was just a pale green with a little bit of white mixed together just to make the little leaves. I'll probably add the holly berries later. So what I'll show you guys right now is sort of all the different little steps to going how you go from here to here sort of thing. And we'll kind of go through it very, very quickly. I brought in all the material so you're ready to go. First things first, and this will be a little downloadable day. First things first, you're going to start with sort of your little decoration. And it can be any sort of wooden decoration. I just have the acorns because that's what I had access to. But you can go to dollar store, get something else, Amazon, wherever, just some little wooden decoration. What I'm going to use now, you could use white as your base coat. Like in the new year, I'm going to be doing some paintings that are like enamel, like fine art paintings. Those ones I put a gesso first because I want the colors to be really, really sort of bright. In this case, I want them to be warm and sort of holiday-ish. So instead, I'm going to start with a gold base. So I give my gold a little shake. And then I just do a first base of it. Now what's going to happen again, because now if this were oil paint, like real oil paint, you would need to put a gesso first because oil paint kind of eats what's under it. That's a thing. Um, if you don't gesso your canvas enough, the oil paint will actually like seep through and it's kind of wild. It will start to disintegrate it. It does eat things. That is not the case with this. This is not an oil paint. This is an a enamel paint. There's a word. And so all you do is go right in with the wood and it's going to be beautiful. Now, what will happen right now, as I'm putting it down, you can see it looks really, really, really shiny, like liquid glass almost. Because this is my base coat and I'm going directly into the wood is going to absorb a little bit of that shine. Not a lot, but it'll absorb a little bit. And then we kind of keep going and going and going. And so you go all the way around. Because it's demo, you get the point. It's going to look like that. When it's dry, however, got one dry. So again, show you guys with my brush. I'm going to take my paper towel. I'm going to wipe off the excess. In this case, because the colors I'm doing are pretty all in the same color range. Like if I was going to do a blue now, I would absolutely wash my brush with the solvent. But in this situation, I'm not terribly worried. I'm going to be using a different brown. And I just wipe off the excess and we're good to go for now. This is one that's ready to go. So you can actually see the difference. Wet, dry. You can see it's lost a little bit of its shine. So now we're going to add the different coats to sort of slowly bring it to here. So first things first, well, actually, I could also do a green one. Green, same thing, same technique. Okay, same technique between the green and the brown, just different colors. If you want the green, if you want the brown one, the color I used is amber brown, number 59. It is gorgeous. This one you'll have a little for this project here, and the steps and they'll be in a downloadable PDF. And this one here, if you want the green one, you can use apple green, number 34. Now, to get to this level of brown, it took me 2 coats. To get to this level of green, it took me 3 coats. You're going to learn by experimenting with your different colors. Some of them are more intense than others. This will be part of the experience. Okay, so applying your first color. I like to mix it gently. Again, it doesn't need to be, it's not like a metallic. It doesn't need to be hugely mixed, but just enough to sort of circulate everything around. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my first coat down. Now, when I'm adding my first coat, I want most of it, the intensity to be up here, and then I'm going to start just dragging it down. Now, you see I'm working with the actual sort of natural flow of the nut. Because that way, if there's any sort of striations that are coming from my brush, especially as I'm starting to like lay extra layers on as it builds up, um, it'll kind of just look natural. It'll just kind of look like it was part of the texture of the acorn. So that's what I'm saying. So instead of going brush strokes all over the place, move with the item. So if maybe it was not an acorn, but it's a Christmas tree, go with the pattern of the direction of what you would want the branches to be going in. It'll subtly influence the whole thing. And you can see this in this case here, the first, like I said, with the coat of the gold, the first coat, because it was directly into the wood, we lost a little bit of the shine. In this case, you will not lose the shine. It will stay shiny, just like this. So there's no sort of like varnish or anything on these. They will stay shiny. And in fact, the more layers that you add, the more shiny they will get. So that's why actually, just to give you an example, between the two of these, you can see there is still more shine here. There's been no varnish added to this. This is just the extra shine of multiple layers. So you're just building up the glass, building up the glass, building up the glass. Do they need to be used in a ventilated area? Yes, I would. I don't find they're as bad as oils. Oils do want to be heavily ventilated area. If you use oil paint, like heavily ventilated area. In this case, you want to be in a ventilated area. Again, I'll remind you, thinking like nail polish. If you're the type of person who doesn't like the smell of nail polish, ventilated area. That's sort of what I kind of always been. Do they need to be seal coated? Nope. Which is the wonderful part. No need for a seal, nothing. This is just vitrail paint. There is no seal coat on this. This is just vitrail paint, period, on wood. Just multiple layers of it. So there's no sealing or anything. So I'm gonna let this one dry in my magical sort of classier materials. Okay, so once you've kind of like let that coat dry, and that is the one thing that I would say, one thing that I personally do is I let each coat dry at least 8 hours, if not actually a full day. And here's why. If I'm doing more of a contemporary painting, like I'm gonna be doing in January, then I don't mind if my multiple layers reactivate and mix together. I want all of those kind of mottled sort of feelings, right, coming through. In this case, I want clean, clean color work for my decorations. So in which case, I want every single coat to dry fully. Once it's fully dry, there is nothing bringing this thing to life again. It is like nail polish. You know, you wash your hands, nail polish doesn't sort of reactivate. Exact same thing. Okay, that's enamel paint. That's what it is. Could you use this product on fabric? Yes. Is it made for that? No. But can you? Yes. Now we do actually, again, have an incredible fabric paint. It is called Color. I love it, and it does work fantastically well. However, I actually, ironically, was just speaking to an artist this week. And she, in fact, was using one of the products from this line on fabric. Um, in her artwork. So just because it's not made for fabric doesn't mean you can't. The wonderful thing about Vitrail is it sticks to anything. So absolutely. The fabric paint is called Color, and I'm going to put it in the chat. Color fabric, and it auto-corrected it to something very bizarre. Hold on a second. Color. Okay, the fabric paint is called Color fabric, and it is amazing. It is amazing. Okay, so once again, I'm going to take my brush. I'm going to wipe off the excess. Um, One thing you'll notice, you're not like washing your brush all the time, like you are with sort of acrylics and water base. You just take off the excess paper towel, and usually at the end, would you sort of, you know, wash your brush. Can set a color on fabric be washed? Yes, it can. Teresa, yes, it can. Set a color fabric is magical. So set a color fabric, you can use it straight out of the bottle. Or you can use it, you can water it down with water to the point that it's like a watercolor wash and just let it dry. Heat set it for a couple minutes with an iron, and then you can run it through the washing machine. Like it works. I am sort of set of color fabrics, probably its biggest fan. Okay, so next color I'm going to use. So I'm just going to keep adding some details here because we still have a bit of time. So I'm going to start adding a little bit of details. We're using the brown number 11. That's how I'm going to add just a bit more extra definition over here. And this is an example of what I was saying of I would let things dry. So I'm just going to keep adding I'm just going to little swoops. And this is very subtle. I mean, it's so subtle. Is the camera? Yes, the camera's picking it up. So I'm just adding subtle little swoops just to add some texture. And what I would do with this here is I would let this dry completely. Again, because I don't want it to reactivate, I would let this dry completely at least 8 hours, if not 24. And then when I come back to it, I would then add one last coat on the top of sand, number 30. And that's how I did the top. So again, there's no glazing here. There's no resins. There's no nothing. This is just vitrail. This is just pure vitrail and all of the layers of it sort of coming together. And the more that you add those layers, like it's so shiny as a material, the more that you add those layers, the more it just comes to life. You just honestly need the patience to let each layer dry if you don't want any colors to kind of blend. If you don't mind the blending though, and this is where it comes down to, again, I'm doing a Christmas decoration. If you don't mind the blending because you're doing, I don't know, an entire cradle board canvas of butterflies, like, yeah, mix up the colors, let them blend. It's all good. So then you don't have to worry about the drying time as much. Can see them on my ex's tree. Yeah, absolutely. They are so fun. I'm telling you, you're gonna get so into this. And what's really, really fun with this? Okay, and then I would let this dry. I'd go all the way around. I would let it dry completely. Again, the next morning, I do every morning I do like a layer and then I go do throughout my day and then I come back next morning and I add another layer. This is actually genuinely my process when it comes to betrayal and Christmas decorations. That is, and it works because every single day I do a different layer and next thing you know you have a ton of decorations. Once this would be dry 24 hours, then I would add a final, like I said, a final coat just on the top of the sand and then you end up with this. That's exactly how I did it. It's all just betrayal, and you have the step by step. Could one use it on a new birdhouse and withstand the weather? Good question with that one. So, could use it on a new birdhouse and withstand the weather. Next week's product is Matte Pub. Matte Pub was originally designed as a mural paint. It handles the weather and is actually designed to handle the weather. So, although it's an acrylic paint that you can use in fine art, which is how I'll show you guys how to use it, it is actually the one that you would use for outdoor projects. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't use this. You could absolutely use it just because if you love the effect and that sort of thing, or maybe you want to make these decorations and put them outside or make giant ones and put them outside. Again, because it works on plastic, it means you could make some crazy like decorations out of foam, huge things and put them outside and decorate. Like yes, I get it, a lot of possibilities. But if it's gonna survive, put it outside in the elements. I can't confirm if it would survive or not. Hey, I don't know, maybe it would. I haven't tried it myself. What I would do if it were me, I would spray it with an outdoor sealant. And there's like great outdoor sealants. If you're gonna like leave it outside to survive all of the weather, especially all of us, well, I imagine most of us being from Canada, we have weather. It's not like Florida where like nothing's gonna happen except for hurricane. Okay. Last but not least, I just want to show you guys before I sort of go back to my face camera. Okay, this is another thing that I did here. You can buy these as well, where you can get the sort of like the Christmas balls, because yes, you have the little glass Christmas balls. Those are lovely. But you can also do these ones as well. And so what I did for this one here, this is exactly the same thing. They kind of come together and then you hang them as decorations. They come as clear originally. I put this as 2 coats of gold. And then finally I put a coat of the red on top of it, which is well, I use it says purple, but purple number 26, but it's pourpre is actually the real term for it. It's French pourpre, which is a bit more on the reddish side. And then I put this on here. Why I'm showing you guys these is you can get these. Okay, tiny little lights. And then you can have these little lights and put these on your tree. These are so fun. Okay. Super, super fun. And then all your designs, and this is like really easy, guys. This is 2 coats of gold, 1 coat of whatever vitriol color you want. You could do green ones, blue ones, whatever. And all you do, little tiny lights, Amazon, and they were like really cheap. So Amazon yourself some little lights, and you can get these little fillable balls. I think these ones here were designed originally, like they came with a little piece of paper in the center so you can put a picture of your family member. Get rid of that. You could put pictures of family member on your mantle. Do something else. Instead, get rid of the picture of the family member and instead paint this into gold and then put a color on top. Yeah, same thing. Amazon, buy the ball. Good question. Am I painting the inside or the outside of the ball? I am painting the outside of the ball. I want to get that maximum shine because don't forget, that's the whole thing with Vitrail. It's more shiny than plastic. It's literally like painted glass. That's what makes this stuff so delicious, right? And I am just in love with these. And then the best part of these ones here, these little lights, I don't know if there's a design for this, but again, I'm always MacGyvering things. If you keep your little tab, you can actually turn it off again. So just keep your little tabs, and then that way the battery doesn't run out. So you can bake before a dinner party, pop out all the little tabs, you're good to go. Fill up your balls, hang them on the tree. Honestly, just like a dinner setting. Can you imagine like your table setting and then you have all the centerpiece decoration and then you have these as like the lights as well? Yeah, like a lot of fun. So yeah, so that's actually a little bit like a little party piece there with those ones. Okay, we have 10 minutes left, so I'm going to switch camera very quickly. But of course, if there's any questions, the 10 minutes is always just us chatting. So if there's any questions at all, um, toss them in the chat. Okay, all right. So yeah, that's what it looks like. Oh, here you can see better in not the super full camera light. So yeah, so it's just kind of lovely little lights. And you can add more than one. That's just like one of those little balls. You can add like a bunch more of them and go from there. Same thing. Again, you guys saw it on wood. You can get these as well. I've done these, and these are super easy. And then you just do, again, same thing. Imagine they're going to look like liquid glass afterwards. So you can absolutely sort of put a sort of first coat. Remember, your first coat will absorb a little bit of that shine. So just be aware of that. And then you add another layer on top. And then the more you're adding and building your layers, the more it just becomes like liquid glass. Like imagine this. We do have like this, like a pale kind of bluey turquoise that you could put on top of this. And it's just like, mwah, amazing. That was amazing. So many thanks. All products are new to me. Fantastic, Ari. I'm so happy. Yeah, that's exactly the part of the fun of this is kind of getting together and just brainstorming ideas. If you are new to this and this was a complete shock of like chaos, I apologize. Please join us next week for more chaos. So next week we have Matt Pub. Like I was saying, next week is going to be our last week of this sort of month. But again, if you want, if there's ever another product as well, check out Delta's website. They are an amazing, amazing company. If you see another product there that you really, really want to see a workshop on, let them know and they can reach out to me again. So like, although like next week is technically our last week, if there's anything at all, you just let me know and we can sort of organize something as well. You guys all have my socials as well. I'll put it in the chat. Maximus K Black. So I'm at Maximus K Black on Instagram and TikTok. If there are anything at all, reach out anytime, okay? Like don't be shy on socials. Like message me, reach out, anything. I literally my job is to just have fun and do art and help you guys out. So it is my absolute pleasure. Same thing if you have ideas. Texture on canvas as like a subject for the future. Yeah, there's like so much. Yeah, Angelica. Okay. We have a texture on canvas. I missed the first part of your demo. Could you message me the link of the recording? I know it ends up on YouTube, correct? Delta team. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So it will all be on YouTube. So you'll listen to me talk endlessly again because I never stop. I think they're supposed to like edit it to make it shorter, but I never stop. I can't imagine how you can edit it. I never stop talking. Yes, thank you. Before everyone leaves, make sure as well, if you missed the start, there are prizes part of this. So make sure that before everyone leaves, put your email in the chat. There is a prize draw. So make sure that you put your email into the chat, either privately or publicly, but we do need to have it so that we can put it into the prize draw. Regardless of whether you're here today or not, and if you're watching this afterwards, as long as you signed up for this workshop, you will get the PDF download. You are actually on the email list. So for next week, same thing. If in the end, for whatever reason, you can't make it, still just sign up because you'll still get the PDF download of at least the project and you get to know at least some of the materials and what you can do with it. Because again, that's the whole point of this. There's no way that we can just sort of, cover everything in one session. So the idea instead is to brainstorm a couple different ways that you can get to know it and use it in your art, which flips it the other way as well. Whatever you end up doing with it, I would love to see pictures. So if you post it, tag me. Let me know. I would love to see it. I will comment. I will interact. I absolutely love getting to see other people's artwork. It's one of my favorite things in the world. So anything at all, just reach out. Besides that, so yeah, so next week is our last week. We'll do Matte Pub. Matte Pub is an acrylic paint. It was originally designed more as like for signage, so that's why it's used for like murals and signage and all sorts of extra stuff. So it does actually have that resistance to the outdoors, which makes it really, really fun for that sort of usage. But what you're going to see is although it's actually an acrylic paint, it actually behaves like a vinyl paint. Like it's actually like very, very matte, opaque, gorgeous, gorgeous stuff and sticks to all sorts of surfaces. That's what it's made for. So we will absolutely be covering that, a couple different usages of it. But as well, it'll be our last session. So if you're sort of brainstorming any ideas or anything that you're thinking about, take this week to sort of brainstorm it. This has kind of been like our month of art club. Sort of this past 4 weeks has been like super fun. So if there's anything at all, let us know. Again, we get perfect. I'm seeing emails. So anybody who has not shared your email, put it in the chat. We do have the prize draws. We do one prize draw every single week. So we have one more we have this one, and then we have one more after that. And then we'll have the grand prize draw, which is the final one, which is a quite large sort of pile of Pebeo products. And again, any questions you ever have, even if it's not like a product that we covered in one of these lines and you're kind of like at Delta and you see something and you're like, what the heck is that? Take a picture, DM me. I'll answer. I do it all the time. Even for retailers, I have like staff members that, hey, like actually, Kristen, you can let your staff know. Same thing. That is one of the things I absolutely like have staff from other retailers that will actually be just like, hi, a client came in asking this. What is that? And how? What? And I will sit down and I will actually answer the message. And sometimes it makes for great ideas. Yeah, no, exactly, right? LOL happens to me all the time in Delta. I always find something. That's exactly it. And also just like in our case, for example, like our portfolio is so big, like when people go, it's like, oh, well, can you do this with it? I'm like, yes, but we have a thing for that. That tends to be really, we talk about it all the time because there's so much. So, my husband hates that you move so close to us. I love it. Yeah, I think you won on that one. You won,
Hmm.
Zoe. Yeah, you absolutely won that one. Yeah. No, obviously, I know the feeling. Representing a art supply company means I'm constantly playing with my supplies, and it's like Christmas every day. So, but it means you're always creating, and you're always getting to create on that. So yeah. So for the three materials, as with last couple minutes, again, last couple minutes, put your email into the chat if you haven't already. If any last questions, put them in the chat. Otherwise, enjoy the materials. We've covered the acrylic paint markers today. We've covered the 4Artist oil paint markers, and we've covered the Vitrail. The acrylic paint markers, again, main takeaway, they dry matte. They come in a bunch of different sizes. And then you can also, once they're dry, they're totally dry, they're waterproof, so you can keep adding your layers on top. Your 4Artist markers, although they're oil-based, they dry almost instantly. Metallics are like the hottest thing ever. And then all you do is that when you put it down, you actually can reactivate them with another oil paint marker. That they will actually sort of reactivate each other, and that allows you to sort of like blend things together. And then the third product that we did was Vitrail. Vitrail, again, is an enamel paint, a transparent professional grade enamel paint, which means it'll stick to basically anything that doesn't move. You can stick it, you can paint metal. I wanted to get like a brick. I have a brick. I just have to go in my backyard, but it like froze. So I mean, like what I'll in the spring, I'll go get a brick. That's too cold. But I want actually one of the things I want to do is I want to get a brick. We have a bunch of different sort of like there's also like what's called Fantasy Moon, which is like a specialty version of the enamel paint, and I want to like paint a brick because it'll stick. So these are like things to think about. Like enamel paint will stick to anything. So just go absolutely crazy. Would love a workshop on the fabric paint. Rock painting, it'll be like, no, seriously, it's gonna be like the nicest rock painting ever. But I just feel like a brick is so unexpected. Like especially if I do like a floral pattern on a brick. Like who's gonna expect that? Like it's a hard, gnarly brick. And it's got like a floral pattern on it. Like I just find it so unexpected. Yeah, it's like so I like to bring some chaos to everything. Um, okay, we have Kari was saying we would love fabric paint. Now maybe that's something that we'll keep definitely in mind because there's a lot of you guys have fabric paint, right?
The set of color, yes.
Yes, excellent. Yeah, so that's maybe something to keep in mind because that's we've had a couple requests of that one throughout today and throughout the other sessions as well. Uh,
Hmm.
that we might keep that in mind because that's a really, really wonderful product. Again, right off the bat, if you are really into fabric painting or like for holidays, just quick recap. Um, I can try to sneak some in next week. But maybe I'll do that. Should we sneak some in next week? Are we basically a club? Am I in trouble, Delta, if I do that? I've got a thumbs up.
Absolutely, you're in trouble. No, I'm just
Okay, so we're
kidding.
gonna do it. Great.
Yeah, let's
Check.
do it.
Excited. Okay. Okay, team. Basically we're now a club and we're now autonomous and making our own decisions that have nothing to do with the original marketing team.
Woo!
So what we're gonna do, we're gonna add some set of color fabric into this. So next week we're gonna do math pub and we're gonna do set of color fabric. Be there, be square. Because yeah, we're just gonna have a great time. You sew too, that'd be awesome. You're gonna love Angelica, you're gonna love the set of color fabric. I'm just madly in love with it myself. So, like I say, it's the first line. I mean, I was using other Pebeo products before, but it was the first line that got me sort of like to really pay attention to the company because I worked previously with a company that used many, many brands. And so this was the part that I was like, you can't beat this stuff. Like you can just do horrible things. It just comes back. Like it is amazing. So you will see we can really like water it down to the point of washes and it still works. It's amazing. I've done tissues, like kerchiefs. Yeah, I did like a series of kerchiefs once of florals. And there's just loose, lost and found edges of flowers and sort of things. And then pops of color. And honestly, they've been through the washing machine like a zillion times and nothing's happened. They look perfectly fine. So we'll do that. So we'll do matte pub, acrylic paint,
Mhm.
set of color fabric. We'll just sneak it in, go wild. And then
Yes.
with that, we're good to go. Any other questions before we head out? Then oh, yeah, you're hired, Angelica. You gotta do it. Your daughter's made the request. Your fate is sealed. Plus, now we're showing you set of color fabric. So next week we'll see you. And you can prepare your project. That's what you do. Homework. Prepare your project. And then that way, if you have any questions, next week I'll bring in the set of color fabric. I'll take note. And absolutely, the denim jacket will work super, super well. Definitely. Yeah, no problems at all. Okay. So yeah, same thing. It's our last week next week. So if you have any projects or anything, keep them in mind. Ask them. Otherwise, we'll see you next week.
Bye,
All right.
guys.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Max.
Thank you.